Hey there, and welcome to Let's Gay 1994, which is basically a rewatch of the entirety of 1994. We're going to talk about TV shows, soap operas, and a little bit of manga today, because that's everything that released today, which is January 5th, 1994. Um, so, first up, I like to talk about a little anime or a little something else that's not soaps first, right off the bat. I love it, but I don't know if I have much of a soap audience, if any audience at all. So we're gonna start off with a little Fushigi Yugi. And this is just the best, or not the best graphic I could find. I don't know why I chose that graphic. I pulled it up a while ago. Fushigi Yugi, if you are unfamiliar, is a classic anime and is probably one of my absolute favorites of all time. Um, the manga is pretty good as well, and has a couple chapters that were not even really represented or adapted to the anime. Um, though at this point in time, we're kind of past those chapters that I'm thinking of, which are the ones where they're on like the island of women, the Amazons that they have to run from. They never adapted that, which I'm like, why? It was so fun and was totally different. The whole storyline with Soy, where she attacks Miyaka because she was part of that whole Amazon storyline. So, um, most of it's pretty faithful, the anime adaptation, but right now it's just the manga that's coming out. No anime until I think 95 is when the anime comes out. So right now we are still, or we're past, I guess, what you would consider like the Suzaku episodes and into the Seiryu episodes, where things get a little bit darker and sadder, because the one that I believe, again, my anime manga release dates aren't necessarily accurate. I have to do some guesswork. So around now, though, is when Valley of Tears came out, and I believe this is a big spoiler. So if you have not read Fushigi Yugi, or you plan to, forward ahead until this graphic is gone, because I'll stop talking about it when the graphic is gone. Biggest spoiler, one of the most horrible spoilers I would never want to spoil for anyone, is that Noriko has just died. I love Noriko. She was my favorite character in the anime, because that's what I watched first before I read the manga, and was just crushed when she died. It was like it was sobbing, crying death scene for me. I didn't cry reading the manga though, because it just doesn't have the same impact, but it's still very well done and terrible and just gut wrenching. One of the most gut wrenching character deaths I feel like I've ever gone through, and I'm not actually sure if this is the chapter, like if in this chapter it's right after she dies and then it's dealing with the aftermath, or it's the one where she dies. But it's just, the whole thing is just so terrible with Miyaka, especially in how she's dealing with it and not being able to accept it. And Tamahome, like, oh, he's like, look at her, she died for you, look at her. And I'm just like, oh my god, Miyaka, like, I just, it's just overwhelming. If you've seen Fushigi Yugi and you have a heart and a soul, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's I would say the reason why it's one of my favorite animes and mangas is because it has all the things I like. It's a sequential story that has just, it's fantasy, it's funny as fuck, and it's got great characters, and it makes you laugh and cry with the characters, which is my favorite kind of fucking show or anything. So it's just so well done. It's got such a good story, just and the characters are so unforgettable, and it just leaves you, the first time you watch it anyway, it's hard. I wish I could go back and watch it again for the first time, because the first time you're just like, those cliffhangers at the end of each episode when it clicks in, da 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 da. It's just, oh, it sorry, I hit my mic. But it's just you're on the edge of your seat and you can't wait to see the next episode. And of course, these days you just watch the next episode, though I don't even know if it streams anywhere. For being so good and so popular, I thought, I don't know if it's available to stream anywhere. I, of course, have all the old DVDs. I had the VHSs, of course, when those were coming out at Media Play, and bought all those. And just having to wait for the next VHS tape to see what happened next was fucking torture. Luckily, you got like 3 episodes at a time on those VHSs, but only $30 a piece. We had it hard back in the day, y'all. If you're an anime fan today and didn't grow up having to buy DVDs or VHSs, you don't know the pain. Or before any of that, where it was just like you had to buy some shitty fan dub or fan sub that someone had lent you. it was a hellscape. As an anime fan back in the fucking day, I'm talking the 90s and early 2000s, trying to find your shit. It but and Fushigi Yugi I actually did see for the first time from a fan sub that someone did and had a VHS recording that we watched. But yeah, it's excellent stuff. But yeah, kids today don't get the struggle. If you're probably like 30 and under, you do not fucking, even 30-year-olds probably don't really get the struggle of having to buy those fucking tapes. And, streamable anime, it's just, you're so spoiled. You're so fucking spoiled. All of Ranma is just available to you right now to watch. The old one. At least it was. It was on Hulu. But for Shigeyugi, for some reason, never streamable. And the two mangas that have come out since, the Genbu, I forget what it's called, but the Genbu story, which is the first one, and then the Byakko story is coming out right now. But the Genbu's completed. It's done. Where's the anime? Still no anime. I don't know why. I thought it was a really popular property. It's my fucking favorite up there with Sailor Moon and Ranma and Tenchi. But where is it? We still don't have it. So I'm frustrated with that. But yeah, this week in 1994, all of Japan must have been in mourning if it was as popular there as it was here. God, it was just such a gut-wrenching chapter of the manga and show. So anyway, that is our Fushigi Yugi, which now we can move on to American television and what was going on. And of course, we start at the beginning of the day, which brings us to our soaps. There was apparently a new Loving today, in which there's a storyline going on where this one officer is wounded and is being taken care of by Angie, who is, I believe, I don't know if her character goes on to other shows, but she's an actress that I definitely recognize just from being on soaps. And she's taking care of this cop, and I guess he accidentally rips up her grandmother's blanket or something. So that's what happened today. Next up, of course, we have All My Children at 1 o'clock. And this was my first episode I actually got to watch of All My Children. I've never seen one episode in my life. And I'm digging All My Children. It's okay. It's just, again, I feel like it feels like a dated soap opera where the music's just not as good as Days of Our Lives. A lot of the hair, well, some of the hairstyles, maybe it's the older women on a lot of these soaps. They just look like they jumped out of the 70s or the 80s, early 80s. But All My Children kind of has that older feel. So when Buffy comes on screen, you're like, what the Sarah Michelle Gellar, what are you doing here? This seems like it was recorded from the 70s. But in this first episode, one of the biggest storylines going on right now in January is Mimi had her baby. And I was like, how do I know Mimi? She's so familiar. And I looked her up. She actually played, I think I have a picture of her. Yeah, that's Mimi. She was on Coming to America. I think she was the pretty girl that worked at McDonald's or whatever the fake McDonald's was with Prince, what's his head, with Eddie Murphy. She was a love interest in that. And so I love her. But in this storyline, she's, I guess, on All My Children quite a bit. I didn't realize she had such a long run on All My Children. But she, the guy that she's holding with her hand there, he's the guy that she's in love with. This other guy, oh, my hand's disappearing. Whoop, whoop! The other guy, he's also in love with her and thinks, I think, that the baby might be his or something. There's some drama there, but she doesn't want him. She wants this other guy. I think he's kind of the sexier one, the guy with the mustache. He needs to just grow it out to a full beard. That's why he looks like he's from like the 80s or the 70s. That's why all these soaps, look at them. Well, this picture might be from the, or, well, how long were they on the show? I don't know. But they're on the show now, and they all seem very dated. It seems old. But she's had this baby, and Lucas is, I guess, the one she's in love with. Or no. Lucas is pissed about her declaring her true love for the other guy. So, he wants to, like, this guy wants to raise the baby with her, and the other guy's just pissed about that, not having it, because I think he either thinks he's the father or wants to be or whatever the hell's going on. So, unfortunately, there's all this drama that's going to unfold, but it was the first storyline on the soap that kind of, so far, has kind of pulled me in, and then that I actually give a shit about. But it wraps up within this month. And now I haven't seen him since. So, but anyway, we'll get to the drama as the week goes on. So that's All My Children, though, for the week. Next up, we of course have an episode of One Life to Live, where one of the things going on right now is that Cassie, I guess she lost a baby, Of course, didn't see all this. I just started watching or One Life to Live, so I'm a little unfamiliar. But Cassie lost a baby with her, I guess, love interest husband. I think they're married. Andrew, who Andrew I actually know. That's Andrew. He was on Days of Our Lives a couple years ago. Not like from 1994, a couple of years ago. That's how I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk like it's really 1994 and I'm insane. That's where I live. That's where my head is. So he was on Days of Our Lives a couple of years ago playing a villain, not Tad. What, I can't remember his name, but Kimberly grew close to him for a time, and he became obsessed with her and tried to. I think he held her hostage, possibly held someone else hostage with her. Maybe it was Eve. No, Eve had left. I don't know, but anyway, he was a scary guy. Cal. That was Cal Winters. And I really liked him though, as an actor, and thought he was dreamy. I mean, I have kind of weird taste sometimes, and he's not your typical heartthrob, but I find him fucking sexy. And so I'm really happy to see that he has a place on One Life to Live as Andrew, but he plays like a priest type character, yet he's married to this Cassie. And she's totally like obsessed with adopting this baby. Beth has had a baby, but she's putting it up for adoption. So Cassie's like, then it's perfect. I want it. And the priest is the only one with one lick of common sense and is like, this is probably not a good idea. You just lost your baby, or we lost the baby, and we need to grieve our baby. And she's just like, no, I want to forget that baby. I have a new baby. So that's what's happening with them right now. And Cassie's just like trying to convince him that we need this baby. And she's just Fruit Loops, all sorts of Fruit Loops. So that is One Life to Live right now. Bold and the Beautiful, of course, we are also watching over on CBS. I did not get to watch General Hospital on ABC, so let's move over to CBS where Bold and the Beautiful is. I'm not. I don't know if I mentioned. I think I'm not. I mentioned there's really no Y&R available to watch, so I'm not watching Y&R right now. But I am watching Bold and the Beautiful. And in this episode, Taylor sees photos in the paper of her Ridge, who's her husband, kissing Brooke, who's her rival in love. So she's still away helping James deal with all his therapy, and it's the biggest case of her life. She just can't just toss him aside to save her marriage. She's so self-righteous about this case. And of course James is in love with her and really wants to steal her away from Rich, but she is, so right now she's with James, and she's discovered this picture in the paper. I don't know if it was from like New Year's Eve party. Again, I only just started watching, so but she's seen this picture, and it's really upsetting that she sees Ridge kissing Brooke, because Brooke and him have some kids together and some history. So that's our Bold and the Beautiful. Next up, of course, Days of Our Lives. Oh, it's my favorite. It's so good. I'm going to have to take more involved notes for Days, because there's a lot I want to talk about. But in this episode, the notes I've taken are that Brandy, she's the supermodel that is involved in the Lucas, Carrie Austin storyline. And Lucas is kind of like, is using her to drive a wedge between Carrie and Austin by like setting her up to be like, so that it's so stupid on Lucas's part. Like Lucas is creating all these crazy situations where he's trying to make Carrie think that Austin is having an affair with Brandy by like just, oh, they were at the lake together, and so they found them at the lake, and Carrie just assumes they were fucking, and all she has to do is ask Austin, you fucking her? And he'll go, no, and problem solved. But no, it's Days of Our Lives. So, of course, she just assumes and then won't talk to Austin. And it's like, you know why I'm mad at you, kind of bullshit. Won't say what's actually wrong. Won't confront him about the problem. Just has decided, oh, he's a bastard and I don't love him anymore. And gets closer and closer to Lucas. And so, anyway, this is Brandy's last appearance, though, where she finally goes to Carrie. And, well, I think Austin finds her and is like, you're going to talk to Carrie and tell her what the fuck really happened between us. So she does, and Lucas is not happy. He's trying to stop it. But Brandy finally exposes Lucas for scheming to keep Carrie and Austin apart. So this is one of the first times I think Carrie sees who Lucas really is and what a schemer he is. And probably slaps him in this episode and is like, you're horrible. I hate you. Because she was ready to fuck him. She thought he was such a good friend. But that all falls apart in this episode. He still kind of ends up weaseling his way back into her life, but we'll get there. So that's Days of Our Lives. Another World is next. Another World. It's got such a great theme song. I should play that. I just have to bring it up one of these episodes. But Morgan in this episode struggles with how to deal with his rapist BFF Kyle. And you'll have to forgive me because Another World and One Life to Live right now anyway for me, I kind of mix them up. They seem to have, well, they both have big rape storylines going on right now, and I kind of mix them up. So in Another World, Lorna, Felicia's daughter, Felicia's one of those other characters that I recognize. She's an icon from this soap. She has a daughter named Lorna who was raped by Kyle. But Kyle apparently, I think they gang raped her? I'm not really sure what happened because I didn't see those episodes. But Morgan was like friends with Kyle and was possibly there the night she was raped or something. So that he's got a lot of guilt going on. But Morgan is a babe. He is so sexy. He went on to do, I believe, some other soaps as well. I didn't realize that I knew him from his recent run on General Hospital. But he's plays a doctor on Another World, and in this episode, like I said, he's just like struggling though with how to deal with his best friend who is now a rapist and has raped Lorna, but he's not in jail or anything because of course they never go to jail in Days of Our Lives or in soap operas. And but yeah, there's a lot of guilt going on there with Morgan. So I think that wraps up our soaps, I believe. Yes, it's time for prime time. And on ABC, we've got a big night. It's a lot of new television. I think we have a full lineup tonight with Thea on at 8 o'clock, which I like Thea. Thea's a fun show. It's a cute show. It's kind of very typical. And did I talk about it at all yet? I can't remember because it's iconic for having a little known singer that you might see in the top left there, little Brandy. But I think she's got her shitty haircut there. I like her hair. What were they thinking? No wonder. I mean, it's amazing she went on to have a career after that haircut. It's just awful. I don't know what they were thinking with that hair. It's like short bangs, like up here. They're like this long. It's terrible. And then just like a bob, or it was just awful hair. But another thing, like this show, kind of like the soap operas, if you look at the first few episodes and you had no context, you would think this was probably from the 80s or something. It just seems dated. And finally, though, later in the season, Brandy gets a new haircut, so she looks a little bit more modern and a lot prettier. But yeah, she's had some bad hair in the beginning. But I really like Thea as a character. She's just a strong black woman, clearly, and a good mother. And I just really dig her and the way she handles her kids. The little one in the middle is just the cutest little child actor. He's so cute and so funny. The other two, the older one doesn't really get as much screen time, I feel like, or storylines, but the young one kind of does. But he, again, is one of those characters. Have I talked about this? I can't stand it when they have these young characters who haven't even hit puberty yet, and they're going around like they're fucking hot shit and hot with the ladies, and they, like, have all this swagger and think they're smooth. And I'm just like, you're 4. What are you fucking talking about? So he's one of those kind of characters, so I don't really like him. But it's a cute show. I really dig it. The episode that was on this week, again, I forgot to pull up these episodes, but the episode, like the descriptions. Hair today, gone tomorrow. It should have been Brandy's hair because it needed to go. But I think this is the one where she's setting up, she works as a stylist out of her home. And I believe this must be the one where the guys come to shut her down because she doesn't have a permit to cut hair. But the guy that comes is like this hot black guy, and she starts to like have romantic feelings for him. And I think he actually tries to help her save her business and get around the permit or get the permit. But there's this other guy who's, of course, standing in her way and is a total pain in the ass and won't is just, an obstacle. But I believe in the end she does get her permit. But let me pause and pull up the episode description so I can make sure that I know what I'm fucking talking about today. So, whoop. And we're back. Okay, so I've got everything pulled up here. Let me move it across the screen so I can see what I'm doing. So that was Thea. And I was right. That is the episode. I was not mixed up. Hair today, gone tomorrow, where she's gotta like save her permit. So that brings us to George, which is I don't know if anyone remembers this one. It was a one-hit wonder, one season piece of shit. It's not a very good show, but I'm watching it. Um, one of my biggest problems with George is that it has a cast of like hundreds. It's so silly to me. Um, of course, George Foreman is the star, basically playing a version of himself, and uh, it's got an actually a decent cast. It's got well, where is she? Uh, what's her name? Cheryl Lee Ralph. She's in this playing his wife, and then he's got two kids. But then there's also like because the show in the beginning, first episode, I guess, it sets him up where he either goes to speak at the school or something, and gets to know all the kids in this classroom that he's either subbing for or doing something, and ends up starting a program for these kids, uh, kind of like a dangerous mind situation. They don't have good home lives or whatever, so they go to like this YMCA thing that he sets up, and he's like a father figure to all these fucking kids. But there's like 4 or 5 of these kids, his own kids, and you got to keep track of all these characters, and it's just too much to juggle for one little sitcom. So it really should have really focused on a few of the kids that he takes in, and maybe had some just kind of like, and they are pretty much background, but it's like I can't keep them straight. There's one kid who I feel like is the real problematic one that he's clashes with the most, but well, who did they put in the thing? I think that's, yeah, you can see him. That's all the kids. Those are, oh yeah, it's 5. It's those kids that are the problematic ones. But that's not even his family that we also have to deal with and remember. And he's got a little girl and a son, and it's just too much. So, but the one with the hat right here is the guy that is always really clashing with him. And then this guy is he's the Latino stereotype. He even has like this thick accent. It's kind of comical how stereotypical he is, but anyway, it's not a very good show though. Like I said, I don't really enjoy it. It's a chore to watch. Oh, Anne Haney is our token white woman in this show, playing Juanita, their maid, or I guess maid is what she'd be. She's not like a nanny to the kids, but she takes care of them too. But because George is like a successful boxer or whatever, just like in real life. Isn't that what he does? He's not a wrestler. I don't know sports. I don't fucking know. But he plays, yeah, like I said, a fictionalized version of himself. And this episode was called Homeboy is Where the Heart Is. And in this one, George provides a homeless Latham, what the fuck is that? A job as a security guard at Foster Plaza. I don't even remember this fucking episode. I'm sure I watched it, but it's a very forgettable show. It's no wonder it didn't last. So that is George at 8:30. Next up, we have Home Improvement, the hit. That is the biggest show probably they have tonight. What's next? It's Grace Under Fire. That was kind of a hit too, but let's get back to Home Improvement. I have I talked about Home Improvement yet? I don't think so. I get mixed up about this and my stupid podcast I was doing that will never air. But I love Home Improvement because of Jill. She's a great character and I really like her. I cannot stand her children, the boys. They're terrible. And of course Tim is Tim and he's just the butt of all the jokes, but he's such a typical guy. And I cannot stand, like, that's my least favorite thing is just like, here's the difference between men and women, and that's all he brings to the table is, oh, men grunts and men's do this and blah, blah, ho 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 ho. Spare me, Tim Allen. I as a kid liked him. As an adult, can't really stand him. He's not the worst sexist pig in the world, but he's just an idiot. I don't know. I mean, I kind of see what Jill sees in him, but Al should just kick his ass. Al is like a good guy, the kind of guy you would date, and he as an adult, I find him a lot sexier than I did as a kid. I tell you what. I mean, I'm a sucker for a beard, but yeah, those kids, the boys, they're just rotten kids. I feel like it's actually a pretty honest portrayal of what it can be like to raise boys. Because at least Mark is a sweetheart, but these two, they're fucking the devil, especially Brad. He's such a shithead. I cannot stand him. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I had a huge fucking crush on him. He just posted like, or someone posted a reunion photo of him with Jill and Mark. Mark looks interesting. I'll say that. He needs a haircut. Jill looks like an older version of herself, but Jonathan Taylor Thomas looks fucking amazing. He had these thick glasses on, but he still looked fucking amazing. Look me up, Jonathan. I'm in the phone book. So anyway, rotten boys. Especially Brad. He's such a fucking punk ass bitch. I can't stand his character. So this episode of Home Improvement is called Slip Sleddin' Away. And it's all about Randy loses a sled race to a neighbor boy he does not like, so Tim helps build a super sled, and he wants to win to prove he is good, even though he's short. Meanwhile, Brad wants to give up his saxophone lessons. Of course he does, because he probably doesn't think it's manly or whatever, and I'm sure Tim is like, oh, you need a manlier instrument or some bullshit. I don't know. I don't remember that. I just made that up, but, like, ugh. I would rather watch The Jill Show with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Mark and Al, and just forget all the rest of them assholes. So that's Home Improvement. Moving on to Grace Under Fire. I actually can't watch this show. It's not available to stream anywhere, but I'm not too worried about that because I don't know for sure. And forgive me, Grace, if I'm wrong about this, but I understand you're kind of a conservative Republican. I don't need to. Moving on. Next up, at 10 o'clock, we get the series premiere of Birdland, which is, I think, Patrick Dennehy. Is that his name? Brian Dennehy. Who's Patrick Dennehy? Or am I just making that up? He stars in this show, which is, I guess, what would you call it? I don't know, because I only saw one episode, and I don't even think it was the pilot, which premieres tonight. The episode I watched was actually interesting to me because it had Charlotte Ross in it, who I know is Eve Donovan from Days of Our Lives. And she was also on The Heights recently, and it was a terrible show. I look back on The Heights, and I thought, like, oh, that had that Jamie guy on it, and he was on 90210, and it had that hit song. It was such a great show. I can't wait to watch it. It was terrible. No wonder it was canceled, but it did have a hit song. So, how do you talk to an angel? That one. So, anyway, Charlotte Ross was in the episode I saw, which I don't believe is the pilot episode. So we'll get to that episode when we get to it, if I even wrote it down. But yeah, as Patrick Dennehy's in this show. Leslie Mann. There's no other big names I'm recognizing in the IMDb. Scott Grimes, I believe, doesn't he voice American Dad or something? Isn't he the voice of not Stan? Who's the kid? I love that show and I can't even fucking remember. Steve. Doesn't he voice Steve? But otherwise, yeah, I don't really see big names there. So, but that's the new show that they tried to premiere on at 10 o'clock time slot on Wednesdays, but I believe it was canceled very quickly. So that is Birdland. Now that brings us over to Fox, where they, I think, really dominated Wednesday nights. So they did have to compete with Home Improvement. Although I guess maybe they knew they had to compete with Home Improvement, and that's why Melrose didn't stick around in the 9 o'clock time slot, which it is at right now. They moved it to Mondays and had that ad campaign, Mondays are a bitch. But 90210 stayed on Wednesdays once it moved there from Thursday, and it's our 8 o'clock show. And I believe that was the dominant show that no one could really probably stand up against till later seasons when it started getting worse, which this is kind of the start of the decline. I remember reading about the showrunner or Darren Star. No, Darren Star didn't do this one. Aaron Spelling. And I think he did both, but I believe it was him that was worried about 90210 after they graduated because people wouldn't be as interested in the characters once they're out of high school. And I admit I don't like him as much in college. It's not as good, but all the cast is still there. We haven't lost any cast members till next season when Shannon Doherty leaves. This is still Shannon. She's still there, though half her episode she's off doing her own thing because apparently she's a bitch and can't get along with anybody. So we've always got to have some B storyline off with her. But apparently she did get along. I don't know. But yeah, the episode though that aired this week was Crunch Time, where David's work and study schedule begins to take a toll on him when midterms come around, leading him to start using crystal meth, as you do. His erratic behavior worries Donna and Kelly, and remember I was talking about how drug abuse is always the fucking show topic storyline for every character's got to go through a drug addiction storyline, and this is David's. So he's just skipping right over like the booze or the cocaine and going straight to crystal meth. So his erratic behavior worries Donna and Kelly. Dylan wants to... Hold on, I'm going to expand this. Oh, gosh, this is a huge... Oh, this is the summary by Moz on IMDb. But Dylan wants to help Suzanne with her financial troubles by giving her $10,000, but Jim urges Dylan to let him do a background check on her first. And of course, she gets so defensive about it. And I couldn't remember whether she turns out to be a villain or not. And I don't know which episode it finally kind of wraps up her dumb storyline. But she shows up on Dylan's doorstep with this little girl. And she's like, oh, this is your sister. I had her with your father. So she's your half-sister. And now I need some money. And Dylan just... I mean, he's weary. And that's why he goes to Jim. But he ends up believing her and wanting to help her. And because he really falls in love with the little girl who plays the sister. And I believe it, like, I wasn't sure what to believe. Is she legit? Is she not? But of course, when she got defensive over Dylan bringing it up, I was like, bitch, you are such a scam artist. Like, if I was asking anyone for $5,000, showed up, or 10,000, sorry, like, of course he's gonna do a background check. Like, bitch, come back down to earth. Who do you think you are? That, like, he just give you that money? Are you nuts? It's just so, like, stupid, and maybe it's unrealistic writing or whatever, but I was just, like, floored with this lady. Like, you're crazy to ask in the first place and then get pissed at him for wanting to do a background check. I get maybe not expecting it, but then to be mad about it. No, like, you need that $10,000, so you go, oh yeah, of course, check it out. But maybe warn him, oh, well, you might find this, or what, you know, if there's problems there. So, I think she does check out, but he does find something, like she has more money than she let on, or something stupid. So, Steve decides to take his suspicions about John Sears to their fraternity chapter president. Oh, I think I did pull up an image of John Sears. Hottie! But, of course, he's too hot to be a nice guy. He's a bastard. So yeah, Steve decides to take his suspicions about John Sears to their fraternity chapter president, and this might be John's last episode, because he comes on, he starts dating Kelly, but he's an asshole, or she remembers him being an asshole, and then, but gives him a chance, because they're older now, and then finds out, oh yeah, you're still an asshole, so she dumps his ass, and goes back to Dylan. Wouldn't you? So, hopefully she got some good fucking out of John before that happened. I don't think she did, but I would've. So, anyway, John, now his storyline leaves Kelly and goes more towards Steve, who's joined their fraternity. But John hates Steve, and so he's trying to sabotage him and sets him up to, like, get caught trying to, like, in a dare, like, hazing dare. But Steve basically finds a way to kind of expose him as being, he did something criminal, and now I can't even think of what it was. And then they all have to vote on it. Like, do you want this guy in the frat or not? And I believe they all vote against John. One of the other frat guys is played by, if you watched the Ferris Bueller TV show, he played Cameron in that. He's been in a couple other things as well. Oh, he was in that one, another Fox drama that sucked, Class of 96, he was in that. So, yeah, Brandon, meanwhile, continues to tutor Deshawn in sociology, but still feels that Professor Randall is giving him preferential treatment because he's a basketball player, and they just want to give him good grades so he can play basketball. That old storyline, it's just overdone. During a basketball game, Deshawn sustains an injury that he fears will impact his future career prospects, and then Andrea learns from her new RA that Dan Rubin has transferred to another dormitory. I think Dan might have been the guy she was fucking, but she didn't get pregnant by him. ... So that's our 90210 this week. Which brings us to Melrose Place. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Melrose Place, but I am. I didn't watch it really growing up. I remember, like, promos for it, and I watched a little bit, like, I think when Marsha Cross was, you know, I remember seeing the Plate episode, and all the iconic moments, and I remember the Sydney and Jane fighting, throwing into the pool, but I didn't watch it. We were a 90210 household, and to this day, when I talk about Melrose Place to my sister, she's like, ugh, it's not as good as 90210. I'm like, bitch, it is better, because we, like, even though they were on the same network, we still kind of saw them as, like, competing with each other, which is just stupid. It's like people that are like, ew, Backstreet Boys? And I'm like, you can like both Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, which I do. Certain members of Backstreet Boys can go fuck themselves, but we love NSYNC in this house, and we love Backstreet Boys, so we love 90210 in this house, and we also love Melrose Place, and in fact, it is the superior show. It's so good by season 2, I just can't get enough, and This is my second watch through because I watched it for the first time fully through when Netflix first started streaming shit, and I fell in love with Heather Locklear. She is everything. I love her. Amanda Woodward is one of the most wonderful classic villains of TV. Like, and I think the career defining role for Heather Locklear over any other thing she's done. It's Melrose Place. She was on Dynasty. She was on TJ Hooker. I've wanted to watch those, but when I started watching Dynasty, which I love by the way, I was kind of disappointed that she was. I hope she loses the accent because it's just kind of like phony, and she's not as much of a bitch. Even though I remember her saying, I think when she came to Melrose, she didn't want to be another bitch character, but she kind of turned into that anyway. And because she's so good at it. God, I love Amanda. She's so good, and I root for her though. Like I love her, and I just she's so great, and Heather is just brilliant in the role, and I don't know if you're as big a fan as I am. You know that they recently did a Still the Place podcast, which is a rewatch of Melrose Place. I listened to every episode, and it was ironic that it came out while I was rewatching the first season because of the weird way I watch TV. So I was like, this is so perfect. This is so funny. But now I'm watching season 2, and they're not fucking doing season 2 on the Still the Place podcast. So if anyone out there in Melrose Land is listening, Daphne Zuniga, I love you, girl. Do another fucking season. I know you're busy with Spaceballs, but do another season of Still the Place. I can't be the only one covering season 2, but I'm gonna. So, of course, I'm not covering the first part of season 2, but I am covering. We're starting with episode. This is Reunion Blues, is where I am starting because that's the episode that aired today on January 5th. So, I just can't say enough how much I love this show and love Amanda and love Daphne Zuniga and love Allison. I love all the actors and all the characters so much in this show. The first season, like, I love Rhonda, but she was a little boring. So I don't blame them for getting rid of her. And of course, Sandy was, yeah, she wasn't working either. So it was no surprise to me that they got rid of them and brought in Daphne Zuniga, who was the missing piece to the puzzle. And then of course, Heather Locklear, who just completed it to perfection. So yeah, the entire cast is just magnificent. So in this episode, though, let's read the description. So in this episode, and I do have some graphics. Oh, Cassie DePave. If that's how you say your name, I don't know. I hate that I mispronounce everything, so just get used to it. But she guest starred in this episode, so I didn't realize that till I watched it again. I was like, oh hey, it's Eve number 2 or Blair from fucking One Life to Live, which she was still on at this point. But you know what? She, I think, is just about to come back to One Life to Live. She has left, did a guest spot on 90210, Melrose Place, and now has gone back to One Life to Live. Maybe she did some other guest starring stuff as well, just like Hope. She's been on Melrose Place a couple times lately. But Cassie played a classmate of Joe's because Joe goes to a class reunion in this episode, and this is where she meets for the first, or re-meets Reese, who's bad news. And I believe I have an image of Reese. He's sexy, but he's bad news. He's a former con artist, and instead, and she goes from Jake to this guy. Like, what are you thinking, Joe? But Joe goes to her 10-year high school reunion in San Francisco and meets Reed Carter, a former boyfriend who tells her that he was imprisoned for drug trafficking. So he's upfront about it, but that's not a red flag or anything for Joe. She just goes along with it. He tells her that he was only taking the fall for someone else, and she believes him. But I mean, honestly, at this point, it's not that big of a deal because he, I don't think lives anywhere near Joe. But he shows up on her fucking doorstep like a goddamn stalker, and she's just like, oh, good to see you. Why don't you live with me and stay here for a while? And then they start dating and fucking, and I'm like, Joe? Hello? You've been through a horrible marriage that you would think you'd learned your lesson from, dated the perfect guy. Well, Jake has his flaws, but, I mean, his pride, oh, get out of here with that, Jake. But then goes from Jake to this guy. Come on, Joe. Jeez, Joe. I really want to hear Daphne's thoughts about this relationship, because this is where her storyline's really... This is, I think, one of her more iconic storylines, is the one with Reese. So, anyway, that's going on. Meanwhile, while waiting tables at Shooters, a man offers Sydney a large amount of money to sleep with him. Even though she had vowed to quit prostitution, Sydney accepts. The man turns out to be an undercover police officer, and Sydney's arrested. Michael bails her out of jail, that's got to be humiliating for Michael, of all people, to bail her out. But I think she's the only one she could call. Jane probably wouldn't talk to her, and Michael I don't know why he agrees to help her out. I forget why, but he bails her out and demands, oh, that's why he wanted something out of her. He demands her help in breaking up Jane and Robert, because Jane has just broken up, or has been broken up with Michael. But now that Michael has lost, he was driving drunk and got in a car accident with Kimberly, where I think they told him she died, but we'll find out that's not the truth. So, but he's going back to Jane now that Kimberly's out of his system and wants her back. But she's moved on with her divorce lawyer, Robert, who I believe I do have an image of him as well. He's a sexy guy, but he's a piece of shit. He falls right into Michael's trap, but that might be the next episode. So yeah, in order to help Sydney, Michael wants to recruit her to help him take down Robert. So, he says he'll tell everyone how she's really making her money if she doesn't help him too. So she doesn't want that humility. But meanwhile, an angry and jealous Amanda finally evicts Jake and starts making Allison's life miserable at work. I think that's after... Did Amanda find out that her dad was a crook? Because Jake was right about him. Because he tried to tell her, your dad's a fucking crook. And the FBI recruited him to help bring him down. But she's, I think, still pissed at him for bringing her dad down. But, so Amanda's also making Allison's life miserable at work until she meets with her father, who confesses to her about his illegal business before he leaves town. Okay, so yeah, now she knows. But I think Amanda's still, like, kind of pissed at Jake, but possibly apologizes because he wasn't lying. But yeah. So that is Melrose Place. I think that's all the storylines I needed to discuss in this episode. Moving on, we have new Conan O'Brien that night, where he has Isabella Rossellini as a guest. I don't think I was able to watch the episode, though, but she was on. I know her best from, I believe she was in Death Becomes Her, right? The lady with the jewels that just covered the boobies, barely. And then, of course, oh god, what's his name? Fuck, I can't think of his fucking name. He was also on, this guy from fucking Kids in the Hall. He was on. I can't think of his name. But that brings us to a close. So that is our Wednesday. I'm like glad to be getting into Melrose Place because it's one of my favorite shows. But I really hope that they bring back the Still the Place podcast. I want to hear what they have to say about this shit. It's more important what they think than what I think. And it was just a fun podcast. I loved hearing from the cast. They had like Lisa Rinna on there, who I love because she's on Days of Our Lives right now, so she's talking about it a little bit. But it's just such a perfect companion kind of podcast to listen to if you're watching my podcast show. My rewatch is also going to include a lot of shit that they discuss. So anyway, I hope they come back and do it. But if not, I'll talk about Melrose for them. So come back next week when we move on to our Thursday night and cover probably must-see TV on NBC, because Thursday nights typically belong to NBC. So come back next week for Let's Gay 1994.